Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Definition, and you're now locked into the channel where we've been watching The Watchmen to break down everything that you need to know about the new season on HBO. Episode 7 has some major twists and turns, most notably the reveal that one of the characters isn't who they say they are. Throughout this video we're going to be talking about the twist that blew our minds, some of the big revelations, and why Laurie's dildo is called Excalibur. Get it? Like X-Cal-A, but never mind, we'll get into that as we go into the breakdown. There will be heavy spoilers here, so if you haven't had a chance to watch the latest episode yet and don't want to know what happens, then I highly suggest that you turn off now. With that out of the way, I just want to give a huge thank you for clicking this video. Now let's get into our breakdown of Watchmen episode 7. Okay, so similar to the prior entry, the latest episode of Watchmen is sort of a trip down memory lane. However, where episode 6 was about Angela's grandfather Will, the latest release, titled An Almost Religious Awe, focuses on Angela and one of the major characters around her. The episode opens with a documentary on Dr. Manhattan, and it chronicles his humble beginnings before he entered the intrinsic field generator that ended up creating him. This ends up being tied into the Seventh Kavalry, most notably Joe Keen's plan, in which he wishes to duplicate the process that created the Superman, but early on a warning comes with it, as in this glimpse we see how the world views the character. It's said that whilst Dr. Manhattan was a great symbol for America, many also feared him, and the events that transpired in the graphic novel that led to Ozymandias having to fake an alien invasion in order to unite the world is a strong indicator of just how much that tensions rose with America possessing a weapon that no one could really touch. It's because of Dr. Manhattan that the US won the Vietnam War, and it's also because of this rise in fear that the character ended up going into hiding, although he kept a watchful eye over the planet on a human level, as we find out in the major twist in the episode that I'll get into later in the recap. Now, at the end of Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan did say that he was going to go off into the universe and try and create life, and though I have seen some people say that these are the clones that Ozymandias is surrounded by, personally I believe that these are inventions of Lady True, who, as we know, specialises in genetics and has created humans before. Though the clones say he gifted us life, I think that this is sort of a creation by the society that exists on the moon, who may have created their idea of a male god mistakenly. Obviously, I don't know for definite, but I think True's genetic developments are tied in with them somehow, and the deal that she made with Ozymandias when buying his corporations. After the documentary, we then jump to Saigon to see Angela's childhood, most notably what inspired her to become Sister Night. Similar to Batman, who was inspired by Zorro, Angela is influenced heavily by pop culture and adopts the bright, almost comedic depiction of them in film and media into a real-world format that, as we know, often comes with a dark side to it. Similar to Batman, Angela, or rather Sister Night, was born out of tragedy, and like most superheroes, her parents, the ones that she cares for, are stripped away at an early age, which means that she must adopt an almost larger-than-life persona in order to provide protection for herself mentally in what could be a very vulnerable situation. It's the Dr. Manhattan parade, and it's clear that a lot of the locals in the area are heavily upset with the occupation. In the Watchmen universe, after the Vietnam War, the country became a territory of the US, and this is why the flag looks so different to the one that we have in the real world. There's a man who ends up becoming involved in the bombing that operates a puppet show, which to me ties back to the line by Dr. Manhattan in Watchmen, in which the character says, "We are all puppets, I can just see the strings." I'm paraphrasing right now, but this image shows that Dr. Manhattan controlled the people, but that the people also have the ability to control him through their actions. Even though everything in Watchmen is preordained, there only exists the illusion of choice. We discover that Angela's parents were killed by a suicide bomber, and then we join the character in the present, fresh from her nostalgia trip. Because she took Will's nostalgia, Angela's memory is all over the place. Now, during this scene there's a pivotal moment between Angela and her father, in which he says people who wear masks are dangerous, we should be scared of them. When asked why, he follows it up with, "They're hiding something." This really sums up the character for me, who is an expert at hiding all of the anger and pain that she has went through in her life, and this conversation holds a lot of weight to it. Angela clearly had a troubled childhood, and even as an adult there is a lot that went wrong for her. However, she managed to move past it due to the Sister Night persona, and this really exemplifies why a lot of characters in Watchmen have dual personalities, one that can bear the brunt of the dark side, whilst the other one that can seemingly live a normal life. This sort of ties in with the twist, and yeah, there's just a brilliant aesthetic of duality laced throughout the season. Angela's loss of her short-term memory has her constantly asking Lady Trieu the same questions over and over again, and her long-term memory, most notably her childhood, is laced with visions of Will's past, namely the Tulsa riots and life as Hooded Justice. Trieu is trying to fix her memories, and thus throughout episode 7 she constantly sends her back to the past through neurodialysis in order to correct her recollection of it. Trieu is using an elephant in order to complete the process. As we know, an elephant doesn't forget, and this has most likely been picked because of its strong grip on the past. Bian tests Angela with a sort of modern day Rorschach test, but with images instead of ink blots. This highlights how perception is shaped by our history, namely what instances have shaped us, and how some people view things a certain way whilst others don't. We saw in episode 4 that Bian was going through a similar treatment to Angela, and that she was inheriting the memories of her grandmother. We learn that Bian is actually a clone of Trieu's mother, and that Trieu has been slipping her nostalgia as she sleeps, so that her parents can be there when she completes her greatest achievement. This cements that the past shapes who we are, and how we view the world, which is why Trieu wishes to shape Bian this way. This is kinda horrifying, and it highlights that Trieu really has difficulty letting go of her past, hence her invention of nostalgia, and the Millennium Clock that she is about to launch. Trieu also pays lip service to the fact that her father will be there too, and this could either be Dr. Manhattan or the comedian. Personally, I'm going with the latter, as I believe that Trieu is the daughter of the comedian and the pregnant woman that he killed in Vietnam. Trieu could be recreating the comedian similar to what she's doing with Bian, and it would be awesome to see him show up in the finale. There's also mention of what the Millennium Clock does, and personally I believe that this has the ability to see through time, much like Dr. Manhattan, and that this will be used to predict future events. Trieu used this in order to see that she needed to purchase the farm before the thing that fell from space crash landed there, and it also provided her with the knowledge of the Seventh Kavalry's attack. She knows that they are rising and creating their own Dr. Manhattan, and I believe that with Will's help she has used the clock in order to unearth where he really is so that he can fight back. Cal tries to visit Angela daily in a blue car, and he wears a blue polo shirt and blue jeans because, well, we'll get into it later. Laurie also listens back to Angela's outburst during her nostalgia trip in order to get to the bottom of what's going on. The most notable of these is "You can hang yourself now," which is of course a command that Will gave to Captain Judd to take his own life, which Laurie later relays to Judd's wife. Petey investigates Looking Glass's bunker, and we also now know for definite that LG survived due to all the members of the cavalry being dead and his body being nowhere to be found. He knows that he has been turned on and thus will likely be lying low because of their double cross. When questioning Judd's wife, Laurie reveals that she knows about Cyclops, Hooded Justice, and has pieced together the connection between Judd, Joe Keane, Cyclops, and the 7th Kavalry. Though Laurie is smart, she's clearly not that smart, divulging all of this to Judd's wife, who is actually in on it all, and she traps her with like, I want to say the opposite of an ejector seat. Trapdoor seat. Anyway, Laurie awakens in the 7th Kavalry headquarters, and Joe Keane reveals that he is intending to turn himself into Dr. Manhattan because it's extremely difficult to be a white man in America right now. Now, right or wrong, this mirrors Will's time as Hooded Justice, in which he pretended to be a white man in order to fit in. Joe wishes to be the best thing that he can be in the eyes of society, which is Dr. Manhattan, hence the change. Now, Joe and the rest have obviously got an altered perception of the world, namely because they don't view themselves as racists, but also because they think this is the way to change things. Trieu wishes to stop them because she doesn't want the world ruled by a white supremacist, and as we see from all the unanswered prayers in the episode, if someone was to adopt the moniker of the Doc, they would be extremely popular, thus Trieu must get the original in order to stop him. We learn that Cal received total amnesia after a car accident, though we know that this isn't really the case, as Dr. Manhattan cannot be harmed. It is possible that tachyons were used to stop his view of time simultaneously, as we know from the graphic novel that these have the ability to do so. We discover that, after the death of her parents, Angela ended up living in an orphanage in Saigon, and that she becomes inspired to become a policeman by a female officer who ended up investigating the bombing that killed her parents. One of the terrorists that was in on the plot is unceremoniously led away and executed, and this could be a reasoning behind Angela's choices as she wishes to find justice in a world that seems to just want to brush it under the carpet. Angela is adopted by her grandmother, June, who, as we know from last time, was Will's wife. She pays lip service to the fact that she and her son had a fractured relationship, and this drove him away from her. As we know, he was aware of his father's alter ego, and this may have been a huge factor that pushed him into fighting in the military. Watchmen is massively about inheritance, and just as Angela seemingly inherited the role as a masked vigilante, June's son could have too. Angela has carried the Sister Night video as a symbol, and she hasn't even watched it, and we learn that Will ended up scarring his son when he was young, which is why he distrusted those that wear masks. June promises to take Angela to Tulsa, but unfortunately she dies after putting her in a taxi. In Ozymandias' world, the character is on trial for trying to escape the confines of his prison and breaking the cardinal rule, "Thou shalt not leave." We see a sketch of the alien from the graphic novel and also learn that the character has been on trial for a year, furthermore backing up that the Ozymandias entries are all an anniversary apart. There's a skull and crossbones behind the game warden which represents the pirate ship and the black freighter, and when asked if he has anything to say in his defense, Ozzy farts loudly, and it's probably the best moment in the show so far. Yes, I am very immature. Ozzy is found guilty by way of pig, and though we don't see what happens to the character, I personally believe that as terms of breaking his agreement, he is sent back to Earth and then encased in the golden statue. We saw his craft crash land on the planet in the opening of episode 4, and this explains why True wished to purchase the farmland in that entry, and from there she captured him and put him in the statue. The episode concludes with Angela discovering a globe that has the location of Dr. Manhattan prayer booths on it. Here, True drops the bombshell that he isn't listening because he's in Tulsa, pretending to be a human. She reveals that Will went to True for help stopping the Seventh Kavalry, who are planning on creating their own version of the dock after destroying the old one. She says she knows that the 7th Cavalry will launch this attack in an hour, which also adds weight to the abilities that the Millennium Clock has. True tricks Angela into revealing that the latter knows who he is because she doesn't ask, well, who he is, mainly because she already knows. Angela rushes home, watched by cavalry members, and she tells Cal how much she loves him before hitting him over the head. She says that they always knew this day would come, but that Cal just won't remember it. It turns out that there was no car accident and that Cal is really Dr. Manhattan, who wished to go back to having a normal life after he saw the implications that his existence caused. Cal doesn't believe it, but she hammers home the point and pulls out a ring from his head that is similar to the Dr. Manhattan symbol, which is also the symbol for hydrogen. As mentioned earlier, I think this may have been made from tachyons, and thus it removed the character's memories of his life before the quote-unquote accident. Will did mention in episode 2 that Dr. Manhattan was on Earth and disguised as a regular person, and Damon Lindelof, upon announcing the show, also said Dr. Manhattan was perhaps just a scared man that was sad he would outlive everything, so perhaps this move was to take him away from the pain that he was inevitably feeling all of the time. The Watchmen graphic novel did say that though Doc was apparently emotionless, he gave away micro expressions that showed he may as well have been sobbing. This also explains how Angela survived the 7th Cavalry attack, as it was just her and Will in the house. Laurie's dildo was also called Excalibur, which, yeah, say that again, Excalibur, as in Cal Abar is an ex of Laurie Blake, probably the best Easter egg in the show. Episode 8 will be fleshing out their first meeting, and we will see that even back then, Doc was trying to hide his true identity as he picks up a mask off the ground and wears it when meeting Angela. We see that Angela remained in Saigon, as mentioned last episode, and here Dr. Manhattan approached her, saying that he loved her and always had. This is because the character can see the entirety of his life at once, and thus this is how he knows they will be together. He also picks up 2 beers, which mirrors his meeting with Janie Slater, the first woman that he fell in love with. Now I do think this is all building up to Dr. Manhattan fighting the Cavalry's version of the character, and it looks like Angela may not make it out alive. Doc warns her that she will die trying to save him, and this could be the eventual end for the character, though we will see. I love how the show is all slowly coming together, and with just 2 episodes left, I'm hooked to see what the outcome will be. This just goes from strength to strength, and it's really got me invested in the outcome. Now obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode and if you agree with the theories in this video. Comment below and let me know, and if you enjoyed it then please give it a thumbs up and make sure you stay locked to the channel for more Watchmen breakdowns as the series begins to wrap up. We'll be discussing every episode, so it's definitely worth keeping attuned to heavy spoilers for more updates as we get them. We also do a podcast called Watching the Watchmen, in which we break down the original graphic novel issue by issue, so if you want to know the full backstory of the book then make sure you check it out after this. If you want to come chat to me after the video then make sure you follow me on Twitter at DefinitionYT, or head over to my Discord server which will be linked in the description below. We drop videos on there early, so if you want to see stuff before anyone else then that's the best place to be. It's free to join and we have an awesome community, so hopefully I see you over there very soon. We're also giving away a free copy of the Marvel Phase 3 Part 2 box set on Blu-ray which contains Black Panther, Infinity War, Endgame, Captain Marvel and more, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave your thoughts on Watchmen in the comment section below. The winner is going to be chosen on the 15th of December and the set will be shipped out from then to whoever gets the prize, so best of luck to everyone who takes part. This is a channel for people who are super into superheroes, so if that's the kind of thing you like, hit subscribe. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this. I've been Definition, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.